We're down here at OPSU, Pride Toronto. We have done some amazing things and seen some amazing things over the last few days. And we have the pleasure of meeting with Titus to actually have a quick interview because we know you're all so busy
Yeah,
during Pride.
I got stuff.
Yeah, you got stuff, right? Titus, how important is it for unions like OPSU to create space for persons like yourself so you can actually do things like this and talk to people about like
Uh, so, if you're spending all of your waking hours at work, but feeling like you can't be your authentic self, like you don't have support from your coworkers, from management, from a body like OPSU who can be there and advocate for you, it's exhausting and you won't get your best work done because you're constantly worried about interactions that you're going to have, the microaggressions of being misgendered, or of people, if you happen to be a person who's transitioning, people who are disregarding that or feel like they can state their opinion on your own personal journey. Having someone, a body like OPSU that you can go to or just know, even if you don't have to go and have any talks with OPSU, just to know that there's a body there, that your particular journey is something that OPSU is there to support you in, that's huge.
So, what is the importance of the relationship between like drag and pride, and how important actually is that?
That's a really interesting question,
I
because
do that.
um, and in ways I can talk about it, and in ways I want to learn even more than I know now. Drag has been around, always involved in theater. Um, from back before women were allowed to be on stage, and so their parts were in Western theater, and so men were playing their roles. Um, and then at the turn of the 19th century, with music halls and vaudeville, there were women in trouser roles, and doing the same sort of thing, like singing men's songs in men's costume with a wink and a nod to what a cute little boy they were. Um, and and it being a gender play, and playing up, and it's always about um, showing up the rules that society has created for a particular gender. Uh, there a lot of safety was involved in certainly drag queens and that culture and that camp. Um, that was a way of diffusing all of the vitriol and venom of the culture in general that was aimed toward gay men. So getting together, and you could be funny and be campy and be bitter with each other and create this whole world that was an insulated little world that only you got. Things were a little different with women. It's always a little more dangerous to be a woman. Um, because you're smaller and the chance of violence is bigger. So the type of drag tended to be much subtler. And when, there weren't a lot of drag king shows, because it wasn't seen as being particularly showy. There were always women who may have gone undercover dressed as men, um, or who played up that butch and femme aesthetic. We're butch. Uh, but the showmanship around it was never quite as flashy, because masculinity is seen as being the default and femininity is this thing put on top
Right,
of it.
right.
We understand now that masculinity is as much a performance as femininity is. And there are more people playing with it. And as you were saying, you saw some, I think you were saying, you saw some
Yeah, I
some great
was.
gender performing, and there's lots of non-gender performance happening where it takes a little bit of femininity, a little bit of masculinity, blend it all up, and it be a spectacular performance that makes you question things, that leaves you wanting more and leaves you questioning.
Yeah, it was actually quite amazing because they were just the roles they were playing. It was so mixed, and
Hmm.
it seemed to change as they went through their performance,
Right.
which was incredible.
Yeah.
And the crowd that we saw today just loved it.
Great.
Like they thought it was like the best thing they've seen.
Amazing.
So for you personally,
Hmm.
what did drag actually do for you as a person?
The biggest thing I think that drag did, and one of the things that we talked about, and I did a lot of talking earlier in our in the workshop that we did, um, I talked about how drag uh, gave me an insight into the things that the culture considers masculine, assertiveness, a certain type of power, and allowed me to explore that and also bring it into my own everyday life without having to be in drag. Um, but one of the greatest things it probably did, I've always been a performer, but I've always looked very lesbian, very masculine, very queer. Not a lot of roles for a person who looked like me. When I started to do drag, suddenly I was in demand. This is the look people wanted. I felt sexy. It was responded to. And then I started being able to expand what the regular drag performers were doing and bring some of the training that I had in character development and theater, singing. I sing live, which is something that not everyone can do.
I think
And
that's,
so,
I've only ever heard of two drag performers, that that's yourself and Misconception.
oh yeah, there are others, but it's certainly something I'm known for. But yeah, so it actually allowed me to like coalesce all of the performance styles that I've always enjoyed and felt there wasn't a stage for, and bang, there was my stage.
Well, so do you find that some of the drag performers that we've talked to actually talked about how when they became drag performers, it actually helped them with their confidence in their other life, like their regular life? Did you find that the same thing?
Yeah, and for the few reasons that I sort of already stated, like understanding that that feeling of assertiveness, that feeling of power is in me already. I don't have to have makeup on my face, a mustache and sideburns in order to feel that. I already am that. I already embody that. And then the fact that I was getting to express myself artistically, uh, it relieved all this tension and longing that I had been having for having had to leave it behind. So my life improved immeasurably. Yeah.
So think back to your first time you ever performed. What was that like for you?
I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Um,
It's like only a year ago,
no, no,
because you're
it's.
like 21.
Thanks. That's really cute. um, uh, no, it was great. It felt like this is well, this is the beginning of a journey. This is what I meant to do. I sang, and it was like this makes so much sense. So that's how it felt. Like perfect. I'm on my way.
So just like to wrap up our kind of conversation, so what does pride mean to you personally? Like what's that doing for you as a person? What do you think it does for the overall community?
I think we're really lucky here in Canada and in Toronto in particular um, that we are as accepted as a community as we are, and it's very recognized. I'm recognized for what I am when I walk around in the city, and it's very rare that there's any pushback about that. And then we have a huge celebration like Pride, in which the whole city wants to come and participate, whether they're queer or not. Uh, and so there is a feeling of great acceptance. But I think the most important thing is that we can then project this out to the world in the corners of the world where it is not accepted as a little beacon of hope that, we were once in a much darker place and you too can get here. And if that means you actually physically need to come here to be accepted, do that. Do whatever you need to do to be safe and to live your life. But we're here as this beacon of what acceptance looks like. And we still have our battles that we have to fight, in town, in Hamilton. Yay, Nazis. We still have a lot of bigotry that we have to push back against. And hopefully we keep winning these battles. We may have some setbacks, but my kid, I have a child, and I walked into his elementary school, and there were rainbows on the walls, and you are accepted here, and it has always been fine for him, and I don't think he has ever felt any pushback, and he's 15 now, so that's a good thing.
That's a really good thing, and
Yeah.
our youth seem to be leading the way lately.
Well, I am not 21. I am not 21. Um, I am seen as a bit of an elder in the drag community. Um, so I feel the responsibility of that. And so I feel like I have to speak when I can and when I feel safe to do. I have to make safe places for kids who don't. And I have to speak as well as I can when given the opportunity. So thank you.
No, we really appreciate that. Thank you for leading by example. Is basically what you're doing. I know you have other places to get to, so I'm not going to keep you all tied up, Titus. Thank you so much for actually sitting down with us for a
Thank
few
you.
minutes.
Thank you very much. Happy Pride. Happy Pride.